Hi there! Are you ready to dive into the world of orchestral music and soundtrack covering? Then you've come to the right place. My name is Tom Dabrowski and I've been working in the music industry for over 3 years now. I'm a self-taught musician who makes covers of video game, TV and film scores. In this video I will show you how I create a soundtrack cover from scratch. I will walk you through the whole process step by step. I will show you the arrangement and building of the track I recently made. And best of all, you can download the full project in the description below, so you can follow along and learn with me. So let's jump right in and get started. So here I have a full finished track. It's I Promised You from Arcane Season 2, one of the last tracks in the whole show. I won't show the whole track now, but you can listen to my cover and then come back. An important thing to say is that playing the instruments in isn't even half of the work. Most of the artists don't tell you that the other half is mixing and mastering. I won't go into that now because otherwise we'll sit here for like 5 more hours. It's a lot of work and a lot of knowledge you have to build up over the years. So here's the mixer. I have to be honest, that's a pretty basic project. I've done a lot more complicated ones. It's not as easy as it seems from the outside. Let's just say that. All you will see here is just scratching the surface. So if you want to see a more in-depth tutorial, please let me know in the comments. I think we'll start right at the beginning. So I use Cubase 14. As you can see, I've divided the individual sections. That means strings, synthesizer, piano, brass. This is the solo violin. And last but not least, the choir. For the strings, I used the exact same strings that were used in the original recording. But obviously, because I don't have a full orchestra, I use virtual instruments. But it's called Berlin Strings from Orchestral Tools. Yeah, I used the Berlin Symphonic Strings from Orchestral Tools, and the original soundtrack was also recorded in that same place. It's the Teldec studio in Berlin. And this way I can get as close to the original sound as possible. So in the first part of the track, there's not really that much going on. We have the piano. It's nothing special. And the solo violin is layered on top of the whole track, and as you can see, plays pretty much the whole time. And in addition to that, we have the symphonic strings, in particular the short articulations, which are playing the leitmotif from Jace. Some would say this is the leitmotif from Hextech in general, but I've always associated this motif with Jace. It's a variation actually from the track City of Progress. You can have a listen to that and you will see it sounds quite familiar. And because this track plays on the last scene of Jace and Victor, Victor's leitmotif is also integrated in here, but in the pretty much in the last part of the track, or in the middle of the track here. And let's play it in context. So. So that is Victor's leitmotif, and for now we have, as I said, Jace's leitmotif, which starts here. And in addition to that, the synthesizer kicks in pretty early. Don't know if you noticed, but this is the synthesizer. It's a pretty quiet one, but it gets pretty loud at the end. The thing is, how do I start this process? I usually start playing in the complicated sections, which is, for me at least, 99% of the time it's the strings. So let's have a look at the leitmotif. What is also crucial for orchestral programming are the MIDI parameters. For string libraries, there is velocity and modulation. Velocity is crucial for the short articulations, because when I turn this up, turn the velocity up, you can hear it's louder. It's not like I pushed up the volume, rather than they've actually recorded the different dynamics, and that's pretty much what's going on with the velocity. So it also makes a difference how it sounds, not just how loud it is. So that's for the short articulations. And when we jump to the long articulations, the most important thing is modulation, which is pretty much doing the same thing as the velocity, but as you can imagine, playing short articulations on the violin in real life is more like you play a short note, and long is you hold the bow on the string, and therefore for long articulations you actually have to draw in a curve, which also affects how it sounds. I will show you this with Tokyo scoring strings, because in the UI you can actually see which dynamic is currently playing. MP stays for mezzo piano in this case, and it goes up and down in correspondence to the line I drew in. So that's how the strings work, and pretty much all other orchestral sections work the same, except for piano, because there we also have velocity. So let's jump to the next part of the track, where this gets a little bit more interesting, because the brass comes in. In this case, the brass is very subtle. Let's hear again just the brass and then the whole thing. But if you take it out, then you realize there's something missing. Put it in again. It's very, very subtle. Sorry for the short interruption, but if you like this video, I would be glad if you leave a comment or like the video, and if you want to stay updated, you can also subscribe to my channel. And now, back to the video. So I would say we take the string section apart and listen to the first violins, the first long violins in that part. For context, I will play the whole thing for a few seconds, and then we'll just listen to the first violins. These are located on the left side. So in this case, the first violins pretty much are doing the same as the second violins. First violins are located a little bit more left than the second ones. And what's also a common technique is to layer the whole violin section with a solo violin, which I've also done here. So this is the solo violin, and this, and the reason for that is to, of course, add volume to the whole thing, to make the strings stand out more, but also to make a, let's say, sharper sound of the strings, because when we listen to the whole thing, you will realize there's a lot going on. The melody for Victor's theme in this case is the most important part in this section of the track. So these are the first violins. I've already showed you the short articulations. These are going pretty wild in the last section of the track. And for context, the whole thing. So let's jump to the violas. These aren't doing that much in this track. They play the same notes as the violins, but one octave below. It's also for layering, of course, and for making the melody stand out more. Yeah, they are located on the right side. And and with the violins, yeah, it sounds like this. And for context, so then, of course, the cellos or celli and the bass, they can go pretty wild in some tracks, not in this one. They are really just there to provide bass, actually, so yeah. But of course, in context, they are very, very important. And when I disable these, yeah, the whole bass is missing. So this is the string section. When I finish the string section, it depends on the track. I usually play the first and second violins for the whole length of the track, and then after I finish that, I continue with violas, cellos and bass, so I have a solid basis on which I can work. So when I finish the strings, I usually continue with the brass. The brass is divided by the trumpets, the horns. In this case I have 12 horns, which is a pretty big section for brass. For a more intimate sound, you usually use 4 horns. For the standard sound, I would say 6 horns, and for a more epic sound, 12 horns. I will show you real quick how the trumpet sounds here. Then the horns. Then we have the trombones. I think that the trombones are doing the exact same thing as the strings. No, they don't. The djembe is also relevant for adding more epicness. And last but not least, we have the tuba, the biggest instrument of the brass section. Yeah. The brass is doing the most in the climax of the song, which is when Victor's theme comes in, and it counteracts with the strings. So if we just listen to the brass and the strings, most of the time it's not the complicated section. As I've already said, it depends on the track, but I've came across 5 or 6 tracks where the brass is doing wild things. The most is really going on at the string section most of the time. Yeah, I think we can jump to the piano next. I've already showed you at the beginning what the piano is doing. Here you can actually hear what the piano is doing, even in context. But when we'll jump a little bit further into the track, you can't hear it as good, but nonetheless it's a pretty important part. It adds this jumpiness, I would say. It adds the jumpiness that the high strings obviously can provide in the lower frequencies here. So the strings are doing their work in the high frequencies and the piano in the low. Here. And here and there it plays a counter melody, for example in this section. That's here. Just little parts, but yeah, it makes the track definitely more interesting. I think this is actually a better example. And in context. And the last section, which is, I would say, commonly found nowadays, even as in orchestral themes, are the synthesizer. They aren't doing that much at the beginning. It's these kind of, spacey synthesizer, which makes a lot of sense in context of what's happening in the scene.
Sounds exactly like Savono.
It adds this space vibe, and when you look at the imagery of the scene this track plays in, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, in this part of the track it adds actually bass. It adds these pumps. And at the loudest part of the track, it literally adds even more bass. I can show you this with and without the synthesizer, and the difference is pretty huge. and that's without. That's with. Yeah. So it adds the bass where the standard orchestra just can't reach, in the regions of 50 to 100 hertz. You can see most of the work is done here in the lower frequencies. One last thing is the choir. I would say most people don't even know it is there in this track, but again, if you take it out, yeah, something's obviously missing. And again without. And with. And without. It makes the whole track sound brighter and yeah, just more epic. That's basically it. If you want to see a more in-depth tutorial, yeah, you can let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll make another tutorial. That wraps it up for today. If you have any questions, make sure to leave a comment down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Have fun creating, and see you next time.